Matchup between your two favorite teams, and you're at the game getting the most from what it means to be here with American Express. You breeze through the card member entrance, stop by the lounge. Now it's almost tip-off, and everyone's already on their feet. This is gonna be good. See how to elevate your live sports experience at americanexpress.com/with-Amex. Don't live life without it. Eligible American Express card required. Benefits vary by card and by venue. Terms apply.
At Delta, we're best known for our dedication to hard work, our obsession with perfection, and our never-ending thirst to improve. Because you can't seize opportunities for greatness if you don't show up every day determined to be the best. So let's go to the fields, the courts, the tracks, and the skies, where success is determined by your willingness to challenge yourself. Delta, keep climbing.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. So minivans, sedans, JDMs, roll out. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. And with eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
36,000, 25, 1. These are the three numbers to remember to get the visibility and control you need instantly. 36,000. That's the number of businesses which have upgraded to NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud financial system. 25. NetSuite turns 25 this year. That's 25 years of helping businesses close their books in days, not weeks. 1. Because NetSuite is everything you need all in one place. Right now, download NetSuite's popular KPI checklist for free at netsuite.com/football.
Because we didn't become the world's best heart care by settling for what is. We paved the way by discovering what is possible. Hear how we care for every care in the world at clevelandclinic.org.
Back to Let's Go. Here's Tom Brady, Larry Fitzgerald, and Emmy Award-winning journalist Jim Gray.
Welcome back to Let's Go. Jim Gray here with Larry Fitzgerald and Tom Brady. Our program is brought to you by American Express. It's easy to get excited about going to the game. You just love hearing the sound of the whistle and smelling those game day concessions from your seat. It's the stuff.
Connect with the R&B and hip-hop that's hot now. Discover who's next and stay up on the culture.
Cause Drake don't know how to kiss and not tell.
On the Heat.
Your BT is a zero. My back shot sound like bongo.
Channel 46 and on the Sirius XM app. Included in all trials and popular plans.
New mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties,
Or just chilling out and more.
expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. There you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see.
Whether it's big on the block, get up to the gritty and tell the city the home of the villains, or blowing up online. Hip Hop Nation connects you to the biggest hits in the game.
That's the difference when you're my baby. That's how it is when you
Just turn up and vibe. Hip Hop Nation, commercial-free hip hop hits. Channel 44 and the Sirius XM app.
and I'm back on Sirius XM for another season of Let's Go with Jim Gray and Larry Fitzgerald.
Let's go, baby.
I'm kicking off the next chapter of my career and talking with some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment.
Charles Barkley.
I wish I could say positive things about everybody all the time, but if you play bad, I can't get on TV and tell people you play good.
Catch Let's Go Mondays at 6 Eastern on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82, and exclusively on the Sirius XM app.
Amazing moments happen so much at SiriusXM. We want you to see them. SiriusXM Video lets you watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
Table for One. Table for One. Listen now in the SiriusXM app. Just search Drake and hear tracks from all the decades and the rest of Drake's content on his exclusive SiriusXM channel. Sign for Channel 42.
Rondo Deportes, bonjour, vini vini vici, let's get ready to rumble. Welcome to the show. My name is Charlie of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. Between 29 podcast applications, you can Google it. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Want to be mine? Want to be mine? Want to be my neighbor? Shut up! I'm just trying to bring the neighborhood together. And some people, no matter how hard you try, they just don't appreciate it. Especially when it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them to sit you where the good Lord splits you. It's well around their fleet of Cadillac cars all over the universe. You can follow the Big C Sports Podcast on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Amazon Podcast, TuneIn Podcast, Good Pods Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. You can also follow Big C Sports on GeoSavan out of London, England, as well as India and Africa, Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper Podcast, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Podbay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Prodigy, Podcast Republic, and the only one that used to scare me, but now it doesn't. But now it's like, I'll be back. It's all Fees.ai. The robots are really trying to take over. And we got to turn them off. We can't let the robots take over. I've been hearing more and more about artificial intelligence. And are we really gonna put it to a vote if we want to eliminate people and have the robots take over? Can you believe it nearly won that we want to keep people on autonomous driving vehicles? You got to tell me something. Are the robots so smart that they convinced us that we don't need ourselves? Maybe they have. I want to tell you on Big C Sports Podcast, you can also follow streaming OTT on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. I want to get that some praise. 4 TV platforms streaming OTT, really do appreciate that. I love giving out our Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. You know anybody going through issues, pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. And when you do, you want to give us some praise because we all need somebody to lean on. We all do need somebody to lean on, and they really do help people, if that makes sense to you. I want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. And then he said, let there be light. You know, the NFL, I was telling you, they were saying in racism at the end of the end zones. And on the other side of the end zone, at the other goalpost, it said, it takes all of us, right on the white line at the back of each end zone. And now, they changed it over the weekend. What? They changed it? They changed it over the weekend. They took away in racism, and it says make the catch. Make the catch of what? This is the NFL. 75% of their $15 billion industry comes from black athletes, African Americans, and they just had in racism the first 4 weeks of the season. Now they're saying make the catch. And on the opposite end zone, they didn't change that where it says it takes all of us. How does that make sense? It takes all of us to make the catch? How many balls are you playing with? They only play with one football. So why would they say in racism and then erase that and put on make the catch? At the other end zone, they didn't change that. It takes all of us. It takes all of us to what? Make the catch? Or to end racism? So I'm a little bit flummoxed by what the NFL is trying to do, because I was saying they should change it to reparations instead of make the catch. Think of how insulting that is to our brethren that are passing reparations as we're breathing. So maybe the NFL will recorrect that if that makes any sense to you. No, make the catch. It takes all of us. That doesn't even make any sense. They had a slogan on the end zone saying end racism. And now they saying make the catch. Look at it on the end zone. I notice it on football stadiums all over the country now. So they changed that, but I won't change if that makes sense to you. You can follow Big C Sports. I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the show. NFL, do you believe in reparations? It takes all of us. Maybe they should put that on one end zone. Do you believe in reparations? Oh no, let me fix myself. Where they said in racism under one goalpost for 4 weeks. Now they're saying make the catch. The end zone that did not change is the one that says it takes all of us. So now I'm going to ask them to make this correction. Under one end zone where you had in racism, and now it says make the catch, how about say reparations? And leave the other end zone alone that says it takes all of us. If that makes sense to you, give that some praise. I always produce the show. I direct the topics. I broadcast all the shows. I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We can all use more laughter, and all that time y'all can use more laughter. And some collard greens. I'm not laughing when I'm tearing up those greens. I'm telling you, I do all the sound effects. I love that. The commercials are done. I do my show pre-roll. On most hour shows, you'll have 4 commercials where they will take a 4 commercial pause and they'll run 2 or 3 spots. I just do mine up front. I keep going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny. Oh, fair and never war. And then the stats are provided, the storytelling. I even do the play-by-play like some of the teams are doing in Major League Baseball right now. I have runners on first and third. The count's full. The pitch, curveball, swung on, hit deep, right field, back to the wall, home run. Say hello to my little friends. I love saying the girls love the long ball and men love to hit deep, if that makes sense to you. And then, I'm telling you, I upload the show, goes out to 29 podcast platforms all over the country, and then 4 TV platforms streaming out of New York City. And I'm in Dimner Hills, California, where they were saying, you know, unfortunately, people need to learn how to clean up behind themselves. You ever have somebody come over and they just don't clean up after themselves? They drink and they eat and they don't even put the plate back in the sink. They leave it on the table and they just get up and walk away. They leave the drinks on the table. They leave the plates on the table. They just get up and walk away. Well, down there in Dimner Hills, California last night, some good old boys came to Levi Stadium and they left a lot of cowboy hats and cowboy boots in the stands. Well, how do I know that? Because they showed them cleaning up cowboy boots and cowboy hats in the stand, and they were asking people, what are you looking for? And when people start being nosy and they don't want to clean up after themselves, you say this golden Dimner Hills, clean up those cowboy hats and those cowboy boots and give that some praise. I feel kind of bad for the good old boys for the Dallas Cowboys, they were not expecting such rude treatment. I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, please, Hammer, don't hurt them. And then the 49ers, they put a hurt on the Dallas Cowboys. I'll get back to that in a moment. I was wrong. I said the Niners were going to lose that game because all the money out of Vegas was poured on to the Niners. In Vegas, why would they want to pay out? They don't make any money if the Niners won. But last night, it was a red wedding in Wnba Hills, California. So a lot of cowboy hats and a lot of cowboy boots are for sale because they would not let them back on the plane back to Texas. I wonder what are they going to say now about the golden Wnba Hills bang bang nine again. The last 3 times the Cowboys have played the 49ers have won. That's 3 in a row. It's hard to beat the same team 3 times in a row, let alone 4 if they ever meet again. All's fair in love and war. But congratulations to the good old boys from San Francisco, known as Wnba Hills, California. Got to give them some praise. They look really good, that Niner football team. Now, I was predicting they'd go to the Super Bowl this year, and it still looks like Philadelphia may have something to say about that. I'll talk about that later on. I also want to sing to some good old boys. And somebody told me, said the Niners are going to win. Next time I'll listen, if that makes sense to you. I want to thank the California Reparations Task Force, because reparations is part of life. In the NFL they said in racism, and now make the catch. Make the catch of what? What are you trying to catch? It says in racism. Now they're making it about a football slogan. Make the catch. It takes all of us. I hope that they return and do the right thing and let people know that the NFL, are they for reparations? Either yes or no. That's what I want to know. California Reparations Task Force. I want to thank of all the chair, Camila Moore, brilliant. Give her some praise. Also, Dr. Amos C. Brown, Vice Chair, brilliant. Give him praise. The #1 senator in the United States of America, California Senator Stephen Bradford. I want to give him some praise. Brilliant. Also responsible for name, image, and likeness. And then we'll be meeting him sometime this October. And then Councilmember Monica Montgomery Stebby. Brilliant. Give her praise. Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. He's brilliant. Give him some praise. Dr. Shell Grills. Brilliant. Give her praise. Attorney Lisa Holder. She's brilliant. Give her some praise. Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at California Berkeley. Brilliant. Giving him praise. And Attorney Donald K. Tamaki. He's brilliant. Part of the task force. Give him praise. I love giving them praise for what they do. Also want to thank the Associated Press. Janie Hart did an article on reparations, as I also talk about on my program. And I want to see college programs talk about it too. College institutions should talk about it, like Georgetown. I want to give Georgetown some praise. They're actually pledged $1 billion to reparations for 272 descendants of chattel slavery that helped build Georgetown for free. That private institution you can barely afford to get in, but at least they should atone for it. I think tuition should be free for every African American, period, for at least as long as slavery lasted, because the only society that made money was the white society. And so all that money, that's 1619, Curry, to 1865, and then 100 years of Jim Crow. Well, if you look at the calendar, that's over 350 years of money that was built up for one society, not the other. Now, why do you got to pay for college education when the many slaves built the schools for free? I think they're trying to fix that at Georgetown. That's why I'm going to give them praise. But Janie Hart, Associated Press, March 29th, 2023, wrote an article on reparations. She called a sports host. A sports show? Yeah, a sports show. And I said, how'd you get the number? She said, we have our ways. I said, what made you call me? She said, I heard you speak. And she asked me, you should know my answer by now. NFL, listen up. She asked me what are my thoughts on reparations. I said, make the catch. I said, it takes all of us. That's not what I said, NFL. When she said, what are your thoughts on reparations? I said, reparations now, reparations forever. And I thought the NFL would have given that some praise. But I think they capitulated to the people that don't believe in reparations. Well, who are you? If you don't believe in it, why don't you say your name? Say it loud. Let people know, especially you politicians. Tonight's lotto, I won $1.55 billion. And when I get my money, I'm going to want it in nickels and dimes. Because sometimes the banks, they take so long to count out the money, Let them see how it feels when they got to count out $1,550,000,000 in nickels and dimes. You go into a bank sometimes, there's 12 people in line, and there's one teller. And then they got 2 other tellers back there saying, well, I'm on my break. And now the line goes to 25 people. And they got 2 tellers saying, I'm on my break, and 1 teller doing all the banking. So how they going to feel when I need my $1.55 billion? Electric strike. Really do appreciate that. Powerball's doing its thing. So I just want to say there's so much that I appreciate about the world of sports and the world of politics. I know I had some friends in Northern California that were talking about doing some things for the National Black Wall Street Project and was asking me for information. They were having a reparations rally, and so I sent them an article that was sent to me by Double O, national correspondent for the National Black Wall Street Project, and it talked about reparations and how Executive Order 13985 is further advancing equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government. That's the White House. That's one of President Biden's first official signings when he was elected into office, and many people don't know about that, but they know their favorite quarterback's name for a football team. And Double O sent me the executive order on further advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government and the authority. He mentioned the authority invested in him as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America. It is hereby ordered as follows. The NFL on the back of their end zones, instead of saying end racism, they say make the catch, which is capitulation. What sorry person does not want to do what the president said? What sorry person does not want to do what President Abraham Lincoln said? Somebody in the NFL, they changed in racism. You don't want to end it? Tell that to all your black players that make you $15 billion. Tell them you don't want to end racism. Tell them you want them to shut up and dribble or make the catch. That's insulting. That's like saying end sexual assault, and because some people don't want to end sexual assault, the next thing they do, they take that off, like with the Me Too movement, and they say, well, we got to appease the people that don't want to end sexual assault. So instead of saying end sexual assault, it takes all of us. Instead of saying end sexual assault, let's say make the catch. It's the same thing. Who in the world gave that command? Take off end racism. I'll not tolerate it. Well, what do you want us to put, Massa, on the end of these end zones? I want you to say make the catch. That's what I want to see. Make the catch. That'll bring. And then leave on. It takes all of us. It takes all of us to make the catch. That's like an interception. Only one hand on the ball. Possession goes to usually to the offense. So they don't make sense when they said they took off in racism and said make the catch. Make the catch of what? Imagine if that said in sexual assault. Imagine if it said in sexual assault. And they took it off and filled it with make the catch. What an insult. Especially when 75% of your players are African American. Who made that order? Oh, we don't want to end racism. We might piss off some people. Who? They need to put the name of that person that gave the order to erase end racism on the back of end zones. Who's that person? They say let that person and fire that person. Why would we want to end racism? We benefit, guys. Why do we want to end that? But look at the NFL end zones. The first 4 weeks, it had end racism under the goalposts, on the white lines. On the other end zone, it said it takes all of us. They didn't change that part. Why not? Do you want to end racism, yes or no? Because somebody should answer for that. I watched some of the Wnba with New York and Las Vegas. I didn't see anything about reparations. Most of these beautiful, intelligent black women, oh my goodness, beautiful, intelligent black women during slavery, they were the ones that were the most vulnerable. They were raped with impunity. They had their children sold away from them with impunity. They were beaten with impunity. They saw their husbands lynched and beaten with impunity. Oftentimes, where they had to even nurse mouseless children with impunity. And then I see the WNBA, and I'm thinking, at least I know the men are afraid. A lot of these big, strong men are afraid, so they won't say anything. I thought at least the women would stand up, black and white women, and say reparations. Do you believe in miracles? Do you believe in reparations? I thought I would have seen that on the WNBA court, and maybe I just didn't look enough. But I'm going to try to look again, because for the most part, I would expect that our women, black and white, can talk to the powers that be and say, do you want to end reparations? Do you want to end racism? Yes or no? Are you pro reparations? Yes or no? Do you want to end sexual assault? Yes or no? And maybe I got to look at it again. I'll go back and look on the highlights, because I want to see where they say, are you for reparations or no? Georgetown University is. It's no longer just Big C with his loud mouth. The United Nations is. United Nations is pro-reparations. The article I'll talk about, I've done it before. But Double O sent me that article on 13985, executive order. It's an executive order! 13985, signed by President Biden. It's as close as anyone has come to honoring what President Abraham Lincoln said when he talked about the Emancipation Proclamation. And so many people, they walk around in certain areas where they look at you. I was out doing some open houses this weekend. I got to tell this story because it's true. It's one of the biggest builders in the United States. And I went in with a colleague, and mainstream lady, that just happened to be what it was. She told a beautiful, intelligent black woman, she said, oh, you snuck in behind me. And I thought that was a little bit, maybe I'm too sensitive, but it's not sensitive. Oh, you snuck in behind me. What do you mean I snuck in behind you? And the beautiful, intelligent black woman said, no, I didn't sneak in. You weren't paying attention. But she came with, you snuck in behind me. Is that the same thing that school teachers do to young black kids? Oh, you snuck in behind me. No, I didn't sneak in behind you. I walked in. You weren't paying attention to your guests coming through to look at your open houses. You snuck in behind me. Instead of saying, thank you for coming in. How are you? Nice to meet you. But she led the conversation with an accusation. You snuck in behind me. As if you did something wrong just by coming to look at their properties. But I'm glad she was checked. No, I didn't sneak in behind you. You weren't paying attention to your customers. You got to give that some praise. Because so many times, it's those little things that people do, and they know they're doing it because they've been raised that way. And that's why sometimes you see people walk around with that fake, phony smile. You can tell a genuine smile from a phony smile. And you know it. But I just noticed that happened over the weekend. And when I talk about racism and reparations, there are a lot of times where these communities, they're all like 99% white. There's still a clause in the real estate contract that says you cannot sell properties to non-white citizens. I'm going to find that clause in the real estate clause, and I'm going to mention it on the air sometime this week. I want to do that because that needs to be taken out. It needs to be dealt with because I'm not just shucking and driving. Not at all. And give that some praise, not shucking and driving. I want to make sure that I do my part. If I don't do my part, then people might think, oh, he's just talking. I'm not just talking. That's why I'm saying there are things that matter that you're only going to hear on Big C Sports. Oh, there you go again, Big C. Talk about race. Well, listen. When the NFL took end racism out of the back of end zones after just 4 weeks, and they put in there make the catch. On one end of the end zone, it left in, it takes all of us. To make the catch, that'd be an interception. It takes one person to make a catch. But I want you to go, everything I say on Big C Sports is factual. And I want the NFL to see why it's so disrespectful. Disrespectful not a word? Disrespectful to take end racism out of the back of the end zones. They should have been saying reparations now. Google February 15, 2020. This is CNN. Beverly Hills, California. In fact, all of California and all over the country. Buried deep in the small print of deeds to a home that sold recently in that richest city, there's a stunning caveat. Quote unquote, it said premise shall not be rented, leased, or conveyed to or occupied by any person other than of the white or Caucasian race. That's in the California real estate contract. And that's as of 2023. Oh, you must be out of your mind. It says this is known as a racial covenant. And though now illegal, language like it still exists in the deeds to homes all across the United States. And pretty much every community in the country is going to have racial covenants. That's not by Big C. That's by historian Kristen Delgard, a founder of the Minneapolis-based Mapping Prejudice Project, which researches the covenants that barred non-white people from buying property in the city's most desirable neighborhoods. And people think, why are most of our new neighborhoods, they're mostly white? It's not because other people don't want to live there. Black, Hispanic, Asian, Native American. It's in the covenant in 2023. It's called racial covenants. Most people don't know that. I think I mentioned it briefly, but over the weekend, going looking at houses, talking to developers, just let them know, would like to do some of their loans. Oh, we already have an in-house lender. Oh, that's great. I just want to work with some of the loans that fall out. Because we have wholesale lending, you have retail. And then showing them some of the programs, they go, oh, you have that? You have profit and loss statement only for business? Oh, well, how do you get that? And giving out that flyer. But walking into one of these developments with another lender, beautiful, intelligent black woman, the Caucasian woman said, oh, you snuck in behind me. But she said it in the friendly way. Oh, you snuck in behind me. She led a greeting with an accusation. How do you sneak in to an open house of a builder? She didn't sneak in. And the beautiful, intelligent black woman said, I didn't sneak in. You weren't paying attention to your customers. But why would she lead with you snuck in behind me? What would be in her mind to talk to a lady and say, you snuck in behind me? You snuck in behind me. A lady with access to billions of dollars. Oh, you snuck in behind me. And she told her, I didn't sneak in behind you. You weren't paying attention to your customers. But aren't you, as a salesperson, you're taught to greet people with thank you for coming to the property? Let me give you a flyer. How can I help you? I wonder if she says that to white people that walk in. Oh, you snuck in behind me. And then I just told you these racial covenants and these real estate contracts. It's pretty much in every community in this country. It's going to have racial covenants. That's by historian Kristen Delgard, a founder of the Minneapolis-based Mapping Prejudice Project, which researches the covenants that barred non-whites from buying property in the city's most desirable neighborhoods. And that was set up by the Homestead Act that also was only for people who were considered white. Oh, there you again, Big C. Well, how did that money in the land, over 276 million acres, that was given away by the United States government, that same government that's to say, reparations now, reparations forever. They're the damages that they created against people of color, black Americans, because they gave white people land. They gave them everything. All the powers of the law, the powers of the educational system, the powers of the police department, the powers of the fire department, the powers of the educational system, the powers of the hospitals, the powers of education. Almost everything that black Americans have attained in this country, we have to sue for it. That's a clue! You have to go through the courts to get what you want. Not having meetings, not having marches, but to sue based on a contract. Because I'm going to tell you this again. You say, well, what's this got to do with the NFL eliminating racism on the back of their end zones, Curry? Do they not want to end racism? Because now it says make the catch. And it should have said reparations, because that's what the United Nations said. And I want again, CNN wrote the article, February 15, 2020. The clause still exists in 2023. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. You got to give Big C Sports some praise. You're only going to hear about that on Big C Sports. Most other people there, they're busy shucking and jiving and watching the games. WNBA basketball. I thought I would have seen reparations now, reparations forever. WNBA, at least on the sideline, but I didn't see that. These beautiful, intelligent black women and the white women too, beautiful, intelligent white ladies as well, playing basketball, and no talk about reparations. But the New York and Las Vegas basketball, I thought it would have been a little bit different with the ladies being maybe more in touch with what it meant for reparations, because especially for the beautiful, intelligent black women, through the slave trade, they had it the roughest. They were raped with impunity. They saw their children sold from under them with impunity. They saw their husbands beaten, lynched with impunity. They could do nothing about it. They had no recourse. They had no recourse. And now you have the WNBA. Maybe I'm thinking too much for people. I thought they would have used it as an ample time to talk about ending racism and talk about what should be talked about, and that's reparations. The United Nations just did an article on it and opined that racism and reparations as an international community should be paid to descendants of chattel slavery. That's the United Nations. I'm not Big C. I'm not Big United Nations. I'm Big C Sports. But the United Nations said the same thing that Big C's been saying. And I would have thought that the WNBA would have done it. But they didn't. Las Vegas outscored New York by 20 points across the final 20 minutes. At one point, extended its lead to as many as 22 points for a 98-82 victory. Actually, 99-82 victory. And go up 1-0 in the best-of-5 series against the New York Liberty. But I would have thought that they would have talked more about the ending racism, because during the Me Too movement, but that was mostly white women that were assaulted, and it made news almost every night. There were dozens of men that were held accountable for it. Well, what's more egregious than what happened during slavery to women, especially black women? And that hardly gets any press. Oh, that was a long time ago. There were men being prosecuted for alleged crimes that happened a long time ago. But those women were white for the most part. In our country, the news covered it. It's a shame that we can't get equal time. But that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. I'm going to watch the Raider game tonight against Green Bay. I haven't seen what they put in the back of the end zone yet. But I know the first 4 weeks they had end racism under the goalpost on one end, and it takes all of us on the other end. They kept it takes all of us. But somebody in the NFL said, I don't want to see end racism on the back of the end zone. And they gave the order to take it off. Week 5 of the NFL season. And got started Thursday night. The Bears, with Justin Fields, beat the Washington Commanders on the night that the late Dick Buckets passed away, a great Chicago Bear. And they got their first win that night, beating the Washington Commanders, which is not that far from Georgetown, where they said reparations now, reparations forever, for 260 decades of chattel slavery, pledging over $1 billion. Georgetown and the Jesuits. It should be the benchmark for every university in the United States, especially the ones that had it illegal for black Americans to have the same rights that white people had, and gave them a head start to build up wealth from 1619 to 1865, and then Jim Crow laws that were abolished in 1964 Civil Rights Act. Almost everything that black Americans have done, they have to do it through the law. That's a clue. Not through marching, not through singing We Shall Overcome, but executive order. Buffalo Bills, they got slowed down by the Jacksonville Jaguars. In London, England, a lot of the slave ships were insured by Lloyd's of London. Isn't that something? The final loans were paid off in 2015. You can Google it. Back in the United States, Detroit rolled to 4-1 on the season. Who that said he gonna beat them Saints? The Saints shut out the New England Patriots. And when Bill Belichick was asked, what are your thoughts on how you improve this team from being shut out? He said, well, we're going to have to see if we can outscore the next opponent by more. That was his story, and he's sticking with it. But the New England Patriots, man, goodness, I never saw them get beat that bad. The Pittsburgh Steelers, their defense shined bright. The black and yellow, and they knocked off the Baltimore Ravens. I said, Bird, it's a play. No, I'm Superman. They had no answers for the Steelers. A close game, but the Steelers got that win. The Cincinnati Bengals offense found its rhythm against the Arizona Cardinals. And the Philadelphia Eagles, they remained undefeated after beating the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday night in Wnba Hills, California. The 49ers made it hard for tourism from the Southwest because the fans from Dallas, they said, if we're going to get a beat down like that, I'm not shopping in Wnba Hills. On Sunday night, the 49ers, they routed Dallas. How about those Cowboys? What a beatdown. It was 42-10. It could have been worse. Brock Purdy and George Kittle had a great game. They connected for 3 touchdowns. The NFL is something else. There are a lot of great games, but they got to fix that end zone where it says end racism, and somebody said, take it out! Somebody said, take it out. They said, make the catch instead. 42-10. The 49ers, and I got a little egg on my face because I said I picked the Cowboys to win that game. It's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, but the Niners did it. It was a beatdown. I was wrong about that game. And boy, was I ever, 42-10. But the Niners, not only did they dominate the game, they play like this team that had Jerry Rice in Montana back in the day. They scored 42 points, and they had a fumble on the 1-yard line. They could have been at 49 points. And then Shanahan called off the first team and let the backups go in, and they were still smacking them around like a pinball machine. They were knocking boys around so bad. Fred Warner had a great game, player of the game in my opinion. But that's a great team down there in San Francisco Levi Stadium in Wnba Hills, California. They have so much talent. The Niners have won 15 straight regular season games. And now they go to Cleveland. They go to Cleveland to play. And I think Deshaun Watson is going to play in that game. What a game that should be back at Cleveland. But I got the Niners. I got to talk to my friend Ken about that game because he's back in Ohio. And I told him there's a storm coming. In his colors. His colors are red and gold. All fair and level. Don't call the police. Hide all the kids. They come in for some more gold, if that makes sense to you. But at the same time, Fred Warner, hard to improve on being the best player at your position in the league. But he did it, just caused a lot of problem for those good old boys, for the Dallas Cowboys. And there's something about the 49ers in this. They're just getting better. Their next game Sunday at the Cleveland Browns at 1 o'clock p.m. East Coast time. The Cowboys, I don't know what to say, but I think there'll be some changes made in Dallas. The Cowboys offense looked worse than it looked in the 1912 January playoff loss in Wnba Hills, California. And they didn't have any answer for them. Dak Prescott had 3 interceptions, didn't look to be himself. And that 49er defense, Armstead, both of those good old boys, putting pressure. Warner's just an amazing linebacker. I really like the way they played. Kansas City 27, Minnesota 20. Travis Kelce had a little hitch in his giddy-up, had some big games and huge moments, but he willed the Chiefs to a touchdown in the third quarter after returning to the game. He had an ankle injury. He had a 14-yard grab on third down that allowed the Chiefs to keep that drive alive. And then you got to look at touchdown. Patrick Mahomes always buying more and more time, and that gets the receiver to be wide open. Wide open! Yeah, wide open. That's why they win a lot of games. The Vikings also got a 15-yard boost on another first-half drive. when rookie Nick Jones interfered with a punt catch that led to Minnesota's only touchdown of the half. Next game versus the Broncos Thursday night, 8:15 p.m. kickoff East Coast time. The Vikings 1-4 on the season since 1990. 161 teams have started 1-4. Of those, 150 missed the playoffs. That's 7%. That's a clue. Justin Jefferson will look good in a 49er uniform. All fair in Leavenworth. Next game at the Bears Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. East Coast time. And then you got the New York Football Jets 31, the Denver Broncos and Denver Hills 21. Isn't that something? I'm telling you, there's a lot of talk about firing coaches. Don't fire coaches. Let them play the season out. But the Jets should treat Breece Hall to whatever he wants. With the Jets sputtering to an ugly start of the season, he lifted the entire team with a career performance, 22 carries, 177 yards. His chest was in the wind. Also had a 72-yard touchdown that changed the game. And the Jets, just when you say they gotta change things, they turn things around. There's something about that team. They lost touchdown Aaron Rodgers to begin the season, but Saleh's got them. They're not quitting. Zach Wilson, I mean, a lot of people don't like him, but he's young. He got to get in there and try. Keep trying. The Eagles is the next game up for the Jets, so the Eagles going to win that game Sunday, 4:25 p.m. East Coast time. And then the Broncos. Why is there reason to worry in Denver? Their run defense is horrible. The Jets, they had a scoop and score fumble return in the closing seconds to seal that win. And Denver's rush defense has given up 122 yards, 350 yards, 171 yards, and 234 yards. So don't blame Russell Wilson for what's going on with that team. That defense, I mean, that's not the same Denver team that we're accustomed to seeing. But that scoreboard, the score don't lie. Game recognized game. Next game at the Chiefs Thursday, 8:15 p.m. East Coast time. Cincinnati 34, Arizona 20. Is Joe Burrow back? He has a hitch in his giddy up. And he had 36 of 46 passes, 317 yards. He has an injured calf, so he doesn't have the same ability. But Burrow had back-to-back scrambles for gains, something that was lacking in the first 4 games. Wide receiver Lamar Chase, that good a boy, it can play, and you can get him an 11-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter. I'm telling you, this is a good team. They got off to a bad start. We'll see what happens if they can come around to playing good football, Cincinnati. Next game, I'm telling you, I wanna just tell you, Seahawks on Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. East Coast time. I've got to tell you something about Arizona. Wide receiver Rondale Moore had a 41-yard run for the Cardinals, and running back James Conner had a 35-yard rush. This team, Josh Dobbs, their quarterback, and they're going to be okay, but they just got to keep getting better. And that's just a story. It's not going to happen overnight. Cincinnati came in and they took that win from the desert, if that makes sense to you. Everybody has their own growing pains, and Arizona's going through their hurt. I mean, they don't have Kyler Murray. I think they just keep Dobbs as the quarterback, my own opinion. The run game, the Cardinals had 142 yards of the 294 total yards on the ground, and that was Moore's highlighted the 41-yard run. And they're just a team that's going to have to keep rebuilding, but I like Dobbs as a quarterback. Next game at the Rams, Sunday, 4:25 p.m. East Coast time. That's my story. I'm taking with it. Philadelphia 23, LA Rams 14. Please, Jalen, don't hurt him. I think Jalen Hurts, I don't know if it's true or not. I hear that he benches over 500 pounds. Maybe not. But Hurts amassed nearly 400 yards of offense and then set a season-high rushing yards. He became just the 4th player in NFL history with 50 pass touchdowns and 25 rush touchdowns in his first 50 NFL games. That joins the great Dante Culpepper, the great Cam Newton, and the great Josh Allen. Hurts played well through the first 4 weeks, but with his running game taken off against LA, he went to another level. Eagles fly because they take themselves lightly. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Dallas Goedert, he entered week 5 with just 88 receiving yards. He had 8 catches, 117 yards. But there's something about Jalen Hurts, Jalen touchdown Hurts, that was maligned in Philadelphia when he got there. But that good old boy has turned into a great quarterback, and the Eagles came up just short last year in Super Bowl 57. They're still undefeated, along with the 49ers and Denver Hills. All's fair in Leavenworth. Next game at Jets Sunday, 4:25 p.m. East Coast time. LA Rams did the return of Cup delivered as the Rams expected. The Rams offense struggled against a now 5-0 Eagles team, but Kupp's return showed the potential for an offense led by him and rookie Puka Nacua. And then quarterback Matthew Stafford went to Kupp early and often. He had 95 yards in the first half, whereas most in a game in the first half in his last 19 games. They're going to be okay. They just got to find their rhythms. And Coach McVay, he said that Stafford is still involved with Nacua, and who had 7 catches, 71 yards. They're going to be okay. But that's a tough team when you're going to against Jalen Peace. Don't hurt them for the Eagles. All fair level. Our next game versus the Cardinals Sunday, 4:25 p.m. East Coast time. Detroit, the Bad Boys, 42, Carolina 24. The Lions have upgraded at running back with David Montgomery as running back 1. And Jamar Gibbs out with a hamstring injury. Montgomery continued to carry the load. He got his chest in the wind, 109 yards on only 19 carries. All fair in 11 war. I'm telling you, this Detroit Lions team, they are doing some great things. Former Lions running back Jamal Williams set the franchise mark with 17 rushing touchdowns last season. And I'm telling you, Montgomery's going to challenge that this season. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Jared Goff, he was kicked out of Los Angeles, but he's made himself a contributor in this offense. I'm telling you, something about Goff when he has a good running game that he has now and a great defense. He looks a lot better, doesn't he? Looks a lot better. I'm telling you, this team is good. Jared Goff has made him an instant contributor. Laporte, when you think about what he's done, Sam Laporte, 25 receptions in his first 5 games. You know, that's the third most for a tight end since 1950. During the great Keith Jackson, he had 29 in 1988. And the great Jordan Reed had 26 in 2013. That's a good old boy. He can play some football all fair and level. Next game at the Buccaneers Sunday, 4:25 p.m. East Coast time. What do you say about the Carolina Panthers? They're a young team. Maybe sit Bryce Young, let him learn on the sideline, and let Andy Dalton come in and play just to give him a chance to breathe again. Young's turnovers are hurting the Panthers, who gave him 45 points off of turnovers this season. Of those, 31 came directly after Young fumbled or interception, including 14 in the first half against the Lions. Get him out, let him see from the sideline the way a lot of great quarterbacks did growing up. That's how they started in the NFL. They didn't start right away. He has a lot of talent, but it's not just him. You got to have a better offensive line too. But I still think let him sit on the sideline for a game and learn how things are done. Just watch a little bit. It could take some pressure off of Bryce Young. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. And I'm telling you, they're going to be a decent team down the road. Next game at the Dolphins Sunday, 1 p.m. East Coast time. Atlanta 21 and Houston 19. What a kickoff. What a kick through the goals. And Atlanta gets a win, the Dirty Birds over the Texans. It wasn't a great week for football teams out of the great state of Texas. All's fair and love and war. At the same time, Ritter had his best day as a pro. After a week full of questions about job security, Desmond Ritter, he responded with his best game as a pro, 28 of 37, 329 yards, and a touchdown, rushing once for 7 yards. And I'm telling you, had a touchdown in his first game, over 250 yards passing as a pro. It had a lot to do with how Atlanta is starting to fly high, because Falcons can fly high too when they take themselves lightly. I look at that team in Atlanta. They're going to be okay down there in their division. Got to beat New Orleans. Carolina's not going to challenge you. I think it becomes down to those two teams, in my opinion. Tampa's going to challenge also. So they have to keep fighting, but they're right there. Next game versus the Commanders, Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. East Coast time, if that makes sense to you. Texas will just have to get better. C.J. Stroud went 20 of 35 passes, 249 yards, and a touchdown. And the offense scored only 19 points with 4 drives ending in field goals. They got to learn to punch it in. They'll get better. Next game, who that say? They're going to beat them Saints. Not many people going to try to beat the Saints. The Miami Dolphins, 31, New York Giants, 16. And I know people talk about Dak Prescott. They want to maybe have Dak Prescott redo his $160 million salary. But he's better than Daniel Jones. The Dolphins beat up on the Giants 31-16. And the emergence of Devon Achane, it turned into the Dolphins into a first-run offense. The rookie did it again in his third straight 100-yard rushing performance. Got his chest in the wind, had a 76-yard sprint to the end zone. He finished 151 yards on just 11 carries. Isn't that something? The Dolphins had 222 yards on the ground. Raheem Mostert, no slouch, 65 yards and a touchdown on just 10 carries. this team can do it all at times. But they were playing against the Giants that really don't play good football. But at the same time, you got to give the Dolphins some praise because those good boys are playing. And then you have Tua Tagovailoa, was not his sharpest day, had a pair of interceptions. 233 of his 302 passing yards came after the catch. So a lot of great receivers making runs after the catch. But they have a good team down in Miami. Really like the way they've come along. Next game versus the Panthers Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. East Coast time. The Giants are 1-4. Daniel Jones, uncertain, had a neck injury, and maybe he's going to have to sit it out for a week or so. But Miami's just a much better team, and New York Giants had no answer for those good boys that have Dolphins on the side of their helmet. Pittsburgh 17, Baltimore Ravens 10. Kenny Pickett is back on track after struggling for 3 quarters. Kenny Pickett found George Pickens with a 41-yard touchdown pass to slip past the Ravens for a massive AFC North win. You know these teams are back at it again in a few weeks, and it's hard to beat the Ravens, but the Steelers got it done. Their defense is playing good football. When you hold the Ravens down with your defense, you know they're doing good. Next game at the Rams Sunday, October 22nd at 4:05 p.m. kickoff East Coast time. Baltimore went from seizing control of the division to over an 80% projected favorite. Now they're in a dogfight. They got the Steelers, you got the Bengals, and the Ravens, and don't forget about Cleveland. What a great division to play football, if that makes sense to you. Looking forward to the Ravens getting back on track, too. At the same time, Lamar Jackson mistakes continue to haunt Jackson, who threw an interception and fumbled in the fourth quarter. That's not like Superman. You know, he's going to atone for that, if that makes sense. Next game versus the Titans in London on Sunday, 9:30 East Coast time. New Orleans, who that say? They're going to beat them Saints 34-0 over the New England Patriots. I don't understand what's going on with Bill Belichick. When asked what's he going to do to turn this team around, we're going to make sure that we score more points than their opponents. That's his story, and he's sticking with it. Chris Olave scored their first touchdown of the season. Michael Thomas had a season-best receiving yards. And the Saints' offense and defense, they hit the 30-point mark for the first time since October 20 of 2022. Alvin Kamara had a great game. Everybody had a great game. Derek Carr, I'm telling you, Derek Carr, and what likely would have resulted in a first down, had a decent game also. They have a lot of options down in New Orleans. Mac Jones, I think they're tired of Mac Jones. In New England, there's a quarterback by the name of Colin Kaepernick. If you want to run pass option, Colin Kaepernick could help maybe keep the pressure off of Bill Belichick, but we don't know if they really want to end racism because that's the only reason he doesn't have a job. You got a lot of guys that cannot play. I mean, they're trying. They're on an NFL roster, but make them compete. Make them compete with Colin Kaepernick. What would be the harm in that? Next game at the Raiders Sunday, 4:05 p.m. East Coast time. Indianapolis 23, Tennessee 16. And then you got to think Anthony Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida, the coach drafted him with the intent of having him as a run-pass option, but he's been banged up a lot. Maybe they got to stop using him as a run-pass option. They don't want to see what happened to him that happened to Cam Newton, if that makes sense to you. Running back Zach Moss was the benefactor receiving, I'm telling you, 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. They have a good team. Tennessee Titans, well, you can only get so much out of a team. Their red zone scoring percentage is ranked 29th in the NFL. They can't stop the run. You can't stop the run. You're not going to win a lot of games. Jacksonville 25, Buffalo 20 across the pond. After a rough start, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were all over the Buffalo Bills. Trevor Lawrence said it multiple times that you're measured by what you do against the league's best teams. And that's what they found out when they played against Kansas City and against Buffalo. They're a good team. But Buffalo, they'll be back. The Jaguars blitzed Josh Allen 32% of his dropbacks. He was 12 of 37. And Allen completed just 4 of 11 passes for 41 yards on those plays. You got to put a lot of pressure on them. But you know they'll be back next game against the Colts, Sunday, 1 p.m. kickoff, East Coast time. Buffalo, they had to go across the pond and play a team that's always over there. Their next game is up against the Giants. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, you all know what happened in NFL football. They took in racism out of the end zone, and they put make the catch, and I don't like that. They gotta go back to what they really mean when they say in racism. They can start by saying reparations now, reparations forever. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, getting ready to tune in on the game with the good old boys that have the, what do they call? Oh, they call the Raiders. The Raiders going up against those good old boys from Green Bay, and we'll see what happens in Las Vegas. Well, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink, because mothers against drunk drivers are mad, and fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. Call Uber, call Lyft, walk it off, sleep it off, whatever it is. Don't get behind the wheel of a car if you've been drinking and driving. Well, as I always tell you, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, he said, you float like a butterfly and you sting like a bee. He said, rumble, young man, rumble. With all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty. I can't possibly be beat, because all the listening to Big C Sports makes me want reparations now, reparations forever. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. In fact, if you know anybody going through it, pick up the phone and call 911. Things change when the police show up. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. If we don't stop it, then who can? That's why it's important that we do it. That's my story, I'm sticking with it. NFL, put in racism back on your end zones or reparations. Don't put make the catch unless you don't believe in any racism. Tell that to your players. Well, that's what I'm going to say. I'm sticking with it. You know what time it is. I'm telling you, I always honor President Abraham Lincoln when he said something that we should all listen to. He said, I thank you. I appreciate you. I hope that you all have a super fantastic day. But he said, with reparations now, reparations forever. He said it again, like winning the game. Abraham Lincoln says, reparations now, reparations forever. And he said that your team just won the championship of the universe. Reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you. I appreciate you. And I hope that you have a super fantastic day.